Attention gamers. If you were to ask me how I feel about being Hardstuck Silver with a 40% win rate, I would say, homie, I'm just trying to have fun. But if you were to ask me on a deeper level, I would give you copious amounts of blame and shame stew about how Riot's system and the state of the community is just holding me down, and ultimately saying that if I had Challenger MMR, I could hold my own in games, which is why today I am doing just that, going undercover as a silver player in a Challenger game. Now, as someone who lives in the most average of ranks, I feel like I can't be the first hardstuck moron who has glazed himself up and thinking they can survive in Challenger, so let this video be a service to anyone else who may have wondered this, as it could either go two ways. Either I pop off and become the Giga Chad savior of coping silver players on Reddit, or I get served some humble pie and get my shit kicked in 9 ways to Saturday, and all the rank praising Redditors can fap to the results. In terms of a game, my initial thought was to buy an account and queue ranked, but despite literally every single streamer having Smurf accounts and doing like 50 unranked to Challenger climbs a year, I learned that there is a double standard, and if I reverse Smurfed I would get cancelled for ruining the integrity of games and potentially IP banned by Riot. Fucked up, I know, so instead I had to spend weeks finding 9 legitimate Challenger players in the main roles, verifying via interviews and op.gg pages, and setting up a custom so that no weak-ass woke Riot employee does a traceroute on my account, hits me with the 2016 Tyler 1 and forces me to make variety content, which would probably be doing me a favor, but I played it safe, which brings me to tappin.gg. The homies who sponsored this video helped me find the authentic Challengers and are a service that I use all the time. I'll suck their nuts later, but wanted to say that their community is dope as shit before we get into the game. Okay, so I opted into playing Lux mid in my first game of going undercover with the idea that she is elo inflated as shit and I can just sit back and AFK farm if shit gets real, only to learn that I would be going against a high noon Obama who immediately was not positioning like the beginner bots I face in silver. This gun rights activist decided to come into this game as a grade A dickhead and puppy guard his own minions, and every time I even looked at one of them he would pistol pop me. This continued for all of 30 seconds before I was already pissed off, as I figured I would be taking an early trip back to base to heal up, but little did I know he would be forcefully sending me there himself. I got back to lane and survived until level 3, where I figured I could just bind Obama if he tried any funny business, only to learn that my lack of warding would actually be punished, as I was quite surprised to see this frolicking fawn visiting me so early. This got my flash, as I wasn't exactly sure what else to do, but now after coming back to lane for a whole 15 seconds I was now 2 queefs and a cough from dying a second time, so I kind of just paced back and forth evaluating my options, completely unaware that I would soon enough be introduced to the third person on their team in a matter of 30 seconds, and this bitch had long legs and a short temper for reverse smurfing apparently. I get back to lane, and the second I leave the warm bosom of this stone statue I immediately am getting double desk popped by Obama, and so far everything about this is going just about as poorly as I could imagine, but then I see that I have the boys on route, and if there's one thing I can do at even the highest levels, it's masturbate, and that's just what I do, popping a bitch barrier to keep him lured in as I land my first Challenger assist, and I figured this was what I needed, a taste of the Challenger blood in my mouth, to fuel me and turn me into a reverse smurfing menace, and this was going to be my turning point. A quick gray screen amount of time later I got back to lane and almost immediately got chunked for half my health, but keep in mind I picked Lux so that if it came to this I could just safely tower farm against these Challenger fucks. But League's a team game, so I just need to stick to the team and surely I will blend in. And I may have been 0-4 before the 10-minute mark, but at one point I had this gunslinger huffing and puffing just as much as I was, and I knew if I could just mechanically outplay someone 14 divisions higher than me I could get my first solo bolo. At this point my team was getting pissed on, but I knew for me to prove myself as an undercover Challenger and fly under the radar, I would just have to be the mid laner who rotates first to salvage the shitfest down south, and then nobody would be questioning if I belong in this rank. Turns out if you feed a mid-lane Obama more cash than a trust fund baby, like 10 minutes into the game he becomes a menace that not even the villain from the Disney Hercules movie can deal with anymore. This returns the game to the status quo, aka my silver ass too afraid to leave the quake zone of my own tower, but I'm learning that they no longer even care where I am, as I am forced to dance like a stripper to spare my own life, and I just knew that the greedy plays would be the downfall of even the best players at this rank. And let's just say the hopes of 15 minutes ago, where I was convinced that I could blend in during a challenger game, were long gone. I don't know what kind of grubby finger sixth sense you develop from making it to this rank, but I could have sworn this particular Obama was scripting. At one point a fat hick hillbilly beer distributor came to my lane, and after he didn't dodge my first skill shot like the scripting Lucian, I learned that he was the fat feeder on the other team, so I figured maybe I can hang with a shit challenger player, but not 20 minutes later the little British Bambi came in and the two of them tabletop alley-ooped me straight back to my silver reality. So my strategy doubled down on the whole I'm gonna stay within 50 feet from my base at all times like I'm on fucking house arrest, but the hopes were I could just contribute with the titty lasers from a distance without feeding anymore. This felt like it was starting to work, but in reality we were just getting further behind as I stayed out of sight, out of this Lucian's mind, but also out of contesting any important objective because I was too afraid to step out of base. At one point after my team got absolutely obliterated from the enemy, having a bunch of big items funded primarily from yours truly, I teamed up with a bush bobbing zombie to get my sweet revenge on the pistol popping president. This launched a short series where I had to deal with the colorful caribou dancing around with 65,000 movement speed, but I knew I just had to keep my eye on the prize to bind her at the perfect time, and things. I was now unironically 0-10 in a game that my goal was to play safe. In team fights I was in a whole damn different zip code because I didn't want to get juggled on, but the second I thought I had a chance to score my first challenger kill I greeted only to fail like a middle schooler taking the MCATs and be reminded of my rank. Even the times where I was stacking nuts to butts with the other challengers in my group, I learned that I couldn't feel safe around literally anyone on the other team because unlike Silver, these people all actually knew what the champs they were playing do. It seemed like my mere presence was enough to get everyone I loved and cared about around me dead, and even the feeding hillbilly with diabetes on the other team was making a mockery of me. So I'm a bit embarrassed to say that my first experience in Challenger resulted in an absolute blowout, which was 1000% my own fault, as I unironically went 0-13, and did less damage than my Nami support. I quickly realized that my mistake was playing mid when my entire channel revolves around me coping that an ADC's performance is based on support gaps, so the new plan was to find the biggest baddest support to hard carry me in lane while I pop off to prove not only that I could blend in at this rank but also that an ADC relies only on his support, and this is where tapin.gg came in. A service that I use all the time for coaching when I pick up new champs, as I know it's not a China site stealing my data, and after meeting probably 20 people from their community over the years, every single one is more chill than the last, so I use their duo finder to get me a support who will play by my side, help me not feed, but then also coach me live so that I could understand how challengers think in real time. I get matched with some Napoleon Dynamite looking stud with dank reviews. We shoot the shit a bit about my failures, and then we get in the Tapin boosted ass Discord to start this journey together. I tell him I'm playing Misfortune and for him to tell me how a support can complement that.
Alright, so I think we could do something maybe like Misfortune Ash, and then we just, I just ult with Arrow and the ult into this, and maybe they can die to that somehow.
And then I ask if he thinks support gap is all that matters in the bot lane.
I think support makes a big difference, but at the same time, I think the gap between you and Subex is horrendous, you know? That might be the issue. But in general, I think support is more important in the lane. But this guy is like challenger every season, and he's like really egotistical, I would say.
We get into game and he tells me everything is better with a bit of cheddar, so we set up some bush cheese.
Yeah, we wait. Okay, you can E on them, and that's it.
So we poke and he immediately starts explaining what I should be doing and why.
Let's try to get push. Okay, try to push. More poke pressure because they have less minions to hide behind, and we also want level 2 first, so we get more pressure overall.
But I'm applying absolutely no counter pressure against a challenger Ezreal, so despite his bubble dodging mechanics, he still gets poked down quite early.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, we can try to hit him. Keep hitting.
as he explains why warding now is a good idea.
Yeah, I need to ward for sure. Because Lilia is like on bot scuttle, we see Kartus on top scuttle, and there is no Lilia, right? And I saw the camps here, so we can assume that she's bot side. Now we are playing safe, we can give them a little bit of push, right? So they don't have the opportunity.
So then I just blindly follow what he's saying while he's also explaining why what we're doing will get us a lead.
And we got a base off, and now we can create a slow push, so we can just last hit minions, right? Because it's starting closer to our tower.
And sure enough, after me managing to not die for 7 minutes in a challenger game, my first opportunity arises when their Frosted Flakes twinkle shit is abusing my support, but little does he know my guy is about to bait him in.
We can fight it, by the way. Flash on him. Good.
And then we are pushing in per instruction, but their Nami has other plans.
Kill her.
But a true challenger, I learned, always looks at himself rather than blaming others.
I should have expected that.
Then the game plan boiled down to this.
On my ultimate, we can kill her, by the way, because she has no flash now, so we just ulti into ulti, and she should be dead.
And even though this Ezreal practically had aimbot enabled, the ulti plan was in effect.
Okay. Good shit.
Not to mention their support was caught in a worse position than a koi fish in a crock pot, no pun intended, and then guess who has 2 stubs and is on a killing spree in challenger? This guy. Then he tells me to hit another quick back, and I'm drooling at the tower plate with a boner, so I ask him why not stay for that easy to get plate, and he says,
here it's not worth it because it would delay our recall, right? So we would recall too late.
And sure enough, we get back to lane just in time to not miss anything as another gank is in effect, and even though my hula hooping lethal Lisa got blown up like a balloon and I wanted to just play it safe, his calls kept me playing this like a challenger ADC should.
Okay, hit him, hit him. Keep hitting. Keep hitting him. I can ult the TP. Okay, good shit. Nice, nice, nice.
But my lack of min-maxing experience in this elo does eventually cost me as he tells me to back.
Now we go base. BB. Don't waste time.
But I fucked around for 2 seconds longer, and apparently having perfect tempo in situations like this is needed.
That was the difference, right? We could have recalled at the same time, but you like stuttered for like 2 seconds, right? So it ended up being awkward and they got you.
That said, I was still fed, and he gave me one strategy to follow if I wanted to succeed.
Look here. Ult.
This resulted in their Ezreal trying to salvage the shitfest while displaying that even the best players in the world can embarrass the shit out of themselves in a video that thousands of people will see. But I guess he could feel the warm blood tingling in his flaccid pork sword from such humiliation, and both of these kids were about to prove that even though I got carried to an early lead, they would still exploit me for the imposter I was. And even then my Chad support was taking the blame.
We didn't go back fast enough as well. That's kinda my bad for not going it faster, but she actually played well with the flash in.
This started to get worse as I was continuously proving that I have no idea how to capitalize on a lead, and my poor hired hitman of a support was paying the price for me being a fraud. But then he showed how tiltless he is and recentered me around the strat.
Hey, ult. Good shit.
Ah, the sweet smell of slaughtering a Lucian mid will never get old, but unfortunately dessert was served cold with a knapsack whacking deer in my face and a scissor kicking mommy. That said, my support was still picking kids like they were LeBron James' son in an NBA draft while coaching me to not follow my stupid silver tendencies.
Go back. Don't walk there. We play on mid wave.
But the reality of their ADC being challenger and me being silver was starting to show a bit more, as he was basically dismantling every Tom, Dick and Karthus on my team. Not to mention when my support wasn't around, I was back to walking in straight lines and being sussy silver as fuck.
Try to bait them for a barrier maybe. Oh.
Their Ezreal was continuing his worldwide I'm better than Rav tour, and at one point when I saw my opportunity I went for it.
Well. Okay, but... Okay. Yeah, hit it. Is reported. X9 this Karthus. Holy.
That said, I was losing focus on the one strategy he told me to do. And reverting back to my elo terrorist tendencies.
Yeah, it was... Go back. Oy.
And even with us getting our dicks kicked in, he remained calmer than a mill pond, coaching me on how to excel in these situations.
Hit him. Oh, here. You are too scared. He's trolling. Just hit him. Good. And hit him as well. But here, you know, he whenever Ezreal uses E forward, like he has no way back, right? So you don't need to run from him, especially like if he's getting hit by the towers.
That said, the enemy was showing that even the best of players get greedy with leads, and I was fed enough to right-click them for more kills. We were sticking together like two peas in a pod while my micro mechanics in team fights were low-key getting him killed, but the setup was enough for me to pad my KDA a bit in this game to show my friends my performance as a silver in a challenger game. But I learned that challenger Camille's are even more bullshit than silver Camille's. And even though I had one job, which was to ult after his ult, my hard-stuck little brain couldn't grasp the concept, which ultimately would get us killed, and unfortunately me going undercover in challenger, even after getting carried through the early game, did show its cracks. So in summary, silver players cannot blend in at this rank. ADC can get carried through lane by supports but will still suck late, and tapin.gg remains the best place on the planet to find teammates that will stay calm, coach you and help you get better. So use my link in the description to take advantage of a bunch of sales they have in July, and thanks for watching. Rav out.